Hey, this is Leif Ganford. I played the cash register thief in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek Podcast.
Hey, this is Rich McDonald, and I play Commander David Mason on Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And you're listening to Everything Geek Podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldovar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek Podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek Podcast.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek Podcast. I'm your host Ruari, and joining me is co-host Graham.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, very well, thanks. And we also have a very special guest joining us. We have actor Eric Pierpoint, who played an NSA officer in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Voval in Star Trek The Next Generation, Captain Sanders in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Kortar in Star Trek Voyager, and Harris and Shiraht in Star Trek Enterprise. So how are you, Eric?
I'm very well. How are you guys?
Good, thanks. I hope I pronounced all your characters' names right.
Well, you're missing about 200. I went to have surgery one time at the Motion Picture Hospital on my knee, and what they do there is, you know, how normally the surgeon will ask you to, or the anesthesiologist, to count down from 100, and you're lucky to make it to like 96 before they put you under. Yeah. At this hospital, they say, "So what have I seen you in?" So you start to tell them what your credits are, and you start to get sleepy. But actors are so desperate for attention that you just want to, you know, keep going. But they keep turning up the juice.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So we'll get right into the questions. So my first question for you, Eric, is how did you decide you wanted to be an actor?
I was in college at the time, and I was on the ball field most of the time. But as that was coming to a close, I had signed up for an acting class probably 2 or 3 years in a row and canceled each time because of cold feet. And finally, the last year I was there, I decided to go ahead with it. And from the moment I walked out on stage, I just felt like it was home. But I didn't have a whole lot of experience, and so I went the route of grad school and studied classical theater, and that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So thanks for that. My second question is, how did you get the role of the NSA officer on Transformers Revenge of the Fallen?
Well, Michael Bay was going through the tape of the initial audition of a lot of actors that he had seen for a lot of different roles. And so what happened was I got a call, and they had an emergency session. So he'd written a scene on the spot and remembered me from the initial audition. And I just, they said, "Can you come down in 20 minutes?" So I ended up going down there, and they put the scene together. And as pretty much the crew was packing up to go from L.A. out to the desert somewhere to finish it off, they put up a set and shot the scene. That's how that happened, all in a big panic.
Wow, that's very interesting. My third question is, you've been involved in multiple Star Trek TV shows. Which did you find the most interesting or enjoyable to work on?
Well, the show that I did called Alien Nation, which was a series that ran in the 90s, that was probably the most satisfying project of all in terms of film and television. It was a daily experience of a lot of imagination and invention. So that would be my number one. Number two, on stage, I just did The Lion in Winter, and that's one of my all-time favorite plays. So, that would come in a close second.
Yeah, thanks for that. My fourth question, have you seen the new Star Trek movies from J.J. Abrams? If so, what is your opinion on them?
Well, yes, I have seen it. I enjoyed it. I think that the pressure is on for more and more what they call set pieces. A set piece is like a huge action, action/destruction thing that happens in a lot of sci-fi. Big ticket items. I think I liked it. I think that most stories have to go back to the drawing board and create better story. That's kind of my opinion. The original Star Treks had no money for special effects, and the special effects were so, fun and campy, but we enjoyed it because of the interaction with the characters. And I would, that's my personal taste, is less action and more, something to hang your hat on as far as getting to enjoy those characters.
Yeah, definitely. My last question is, do you have any upcoming acting roles or other projects you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I'm doing something called Farmed and Dangerous, which is a comedy that slams genetically modified food business. And it's going to be coming out fairly shortly. It's really kind of a fun and testy project that's I can't tell you who the sponsor is. I had to sign something. But I play a guy who's feeding a rancher who feeds his livestock really, really nasty stuff. And they have side effects that you won't believe. So, for example, you can't take your cell phone anywhere near one of my animals or something happens. I also play a recurring character on a show called Heart of Dixie. I was doing a recurring role on a show called Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So thanks very much, Eric, for answering all of my questions. I'll hand you over to Graham now.
All right.
Hey, question one is, were you a fan of Star Trek before you got any of the jobs for your parts?
Yeah. I was in college when Star Trek was running originally. We used to watch it on this little tiny, like, black and white TV that was about 6 inches big, and sit around. And I remember my college roommates saying to me, wouldn't it be a blast to be in a show like that someday? And ironically, years later, that happened. So, yeah, I loved them. It was one of those things that you sort of, in reruns, you watched pretty much every day. And when it first came out, I thought it was a little strange, and then I got to fall in love with it like a lot of people. To this day, if if an original Star Trek is on, I'll usually watch it.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite captain?
Well, sure. Shatner's got to be my favorite captain.
Of course, it's Shatner.
If you vote for anyone else, you're just a fool.
Yeah. I'm a bit impartial to Picard, but Kirk's got it.
I say that facetiously because Shatner was such a fun personality, and I enjoyed working on Next Generation, I played a character who was the ambassador of love from the planet Iaria, and his job was basically to investigate what love was. And Picard and this character, I was in a shuttle taking him to some planet, fake a crash land, and then I turn into a woman. Fortunately, played by an actress, and then she goes off and tries to seduce Picard. But with Patrick Stewart, such a gentleman, I really enjoyed the week's opportunity to work with him. I really liked that guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. Thanks. Moving on to my second question is, which, if any, was your favorite species in the Star Trek universe?
Oh, you mean other than human?
Well, you could say human if you want to.
Well, if you're going to do if you are going to do a Star Trek, you have to do a Klingon. It's just classic. And I got the opportunity, I guess, what was it, in Voyager, to play Kortar, which is I guess it's the oldest Klingon warrior in Klingon folklore, ferrying lost souls on the barge of the dead across the river of blood. And I had a ball. The makeup is a beast, but the opportunity to, chew the scenery as a Klingon is, the temptation is just too much to resist. So we shot our last night shooting there for almost 24 hours straight because they had to, that episode was over. They had to start a new one. So they had to shoot the rest of it out. And I left at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was so tired that the cop pulled me over on the freeway on the way home and for weaving. And I was sitting there. They gave me a drunk test. And then he saw my Star Trek script on the seat next to me. And we got to talking about it, and he let me go. He says, well, I'm not going to give you a ticket for driving while Klingon.
Oh, that's hilarious. This brings me to my last question. Did you interact with many of the other cast members offset? Like, do you still speak to anyone from working with them?
Of any set or Star Trek's in particular?
Star Trek in particular, but any set will do.
Well, Alien Nation, there was a big bond there because I was working with them every day. So I will talk to the producer, who's Ken Johnson. I'll talk to Michelle Scarabelli, who played my wife, or Terry Treves, who played the alien neighbor, or Gary Graham, who was my co-star in that. And we'll catch up, and it's just like we were doing something, 15, 20 years ago. Really a lot of fun. I see Star Trek people all the time because so many people have been in it. Casey Biggs is a really good friend of mine. There's just, Armin Shimmerman, people I see, and we sometimes are at the same conventions. I don't do that many, but when I do, they're all there, and it's just like old friends. Star Trek is a real community and of actors, and so many of us have been in them. And I don't know how many have been in all of them. I think I hold the record for having been in the 4 after the original, starting with Next Gen, and having done about 6 different characters or something like that, or at least 5. So I feel privileged.
That's awesome. I always find in acting communities the cast always tend to get together and communicate a little bit more afterwards. So that's always nice to know that you all keep in contact afterwards. I actually find it amazing that the community is still kind of going.
Yeah, I liken it to a repertory theater company. But much bigger. So if you're in Hollywood and you've been around long enough, you pretty much know all the rest of the guys. You become friends over the years. I mean, maybe in the beginning you start out very, very competitive. Everybody's climbing all over each other trying to get a job. And now we kind of look at each other and we say, well, how are you doing? How are your kids doing? Oh, yeah. You're grandpa now. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just really fun because through time, you begin to appreciate things that you may not have as appreciated as much when you're younger. But when you're a little bit older, you're all just glad to be there, and that's what makes it nice. It feels like a reunion sometimes when you get together at some of these events.
Awesome. Thanks. I think that's all my questions. So, Ruari, are there any of the Facebook questions or?
We don't have any Facebook questions currently, but it's now time to open up for any of our listeners who want to ask any questions in the chat or call in with any of theirs. So we'll just wait for anyone who does. But while we're waiting, I actually had an additional question, Eric, that I wanted to ask you based on something you were saying before we actually got into the questions. Of course, been talking about Star Trek and Transformers and Alien Nation, which you brought up a couple of times. Aside from those three, because of course you've got quite a great list of credits, but aside from those three, which would you say you are most well known for?
Well, I get recognized a lot when people think they've actually met me at a party, but what really has gone on is I've been in their living rooms for years and they just haven't known it, you know. Liar Liar probably is the single most popular movie where everyone knows it, it seems. Everyone's seen it. And when you tell them or they ask you about Liar Liar, then they just want to talk and talk and talk. I was at the restaurant last night and in the lounge bar area, and a surgeon came up to me and said, I have to ask you, were you in Liar Liar? And I said, yeah. And he goes, God, yeah. And then he brought his wife over. And then they wanted to know all kinds of stuff about Liar Liar and Jim Carrey and all that. But I think that's probably, of everything, the most popular thing. Now, I didn't have a whole lot to do in it, but I was, glad to be in it. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say Liar Liar, but the other ones, too, like there's a Disney movie called Holes, where I was playing the evil sheriff in the western part, the middle part of the movie. And when that first came out, I was a pretty popular figure around the neighborhood because the real estate agents used to take families and their kids, and they'd point the house out and say, that's where the sheriff from Holes lives. So. And ironically, I've now, I don't know, did they tell you about the book that I've written?
No, they haven't. You want to talk about that, actually?
Yeah, I want to talk about that because I think in the UK, aren't American Westerns, fairly popular?
No, they're fairly popular here as far as I know. I'm not too sure about the UK, but they're definitely fairly popular enough in Ireland as far as I know.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'm talking to Ireland right now. The book that I've written is called The Last Ride of Caleb O'Toole. And it's for all my sci-fi friends who are into Westerns. I think they'll love it. It's historical fiction, a lot of action for a particular reading group, which is what they call middle readers, which are like the 10 to 14-year-old. So this is my first book, and right now I'm writing the second book, which takes place during the American Revolution. So while I'm waiting for the phone to ring as an actor, I've been really, really busy writing every day. So that's my plug.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. That looks like all of the questions we have for you, Eric. So it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it too, and hopefully we can talk to you on the podcast again some other time.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, you guys have a great day then, all right?
You too, man.
All right, take care.
Bye. So that was another really fun interview, and Eric was a great guest. We really enjoyed having him on the podcast. Don't you agree, Graham?
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah. And I want to give a huge props to my friend Steve Rohr. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Lexicon Public Relations for setting up this interview. It was a great interview. We really enjoyed talking to your client, Eric, and thank you very much once again. Absolute pleasure. So yeah, anyway, moving on to the discussion topics. Now, some of you listeners may not know this because we do still have some episodes to catch up on, but Graham hasn't actually been on the podcast for a while, so we want to, reintroduce him kind of to the listeners. So, Graham, you know a lot about the Star Trek TV shows, especially that Eric was involved in. So, do you want to give your opinions on them, what you liked or maybe disliked about them, worst case scenario?
I was always a big fan of The Next Generation. Whenever it was on TV, I'd always have seen Picard as the captain. So that's why he'd have been my favorite then. But to be honest, I don't really know too much about the originals or anything like that. I don't know too much about Enterprise because I didn't actually I didn't watch Enterprise all that much because I don't know, it kind of started to run dry towards the end of Next Generation. It's like, I'm not saying that they were running out of ideas, it's just like it was running out of stuff that personally piqued my interest, but I have to say, from what I've watched, Next Generation was definitely some of the most creative work I've seen on TV, like in general, not just in sci-fi, but on TV in general. I guess you could say the characters were a lot more interesting. Like I don't know, as we discussed earlier on, Shatner was a very he was entertaining. He was entertaining, but I don't know. I think Picard seemed a little bit more three-dimensional, if you know what I mean. Like he seemed a little bit more relatable. Like if you were in his position, you'd have done what he'd have done.
Yeah, I get you, definitely. I completely understand what you're saying.
And like, what I really liked was, I think it was in Next Generation, there was like a Klingon actually working with the humans, which I thought was pretty cool. Cause like, okay, wait a minute, you guys used to hate each other, so I thought that was very interesting. I don't remember whether that was Enterprise or Next Gen. I'm pretty sure it was Next Gen, but still, I thought that was a very interesting take, considering, you know, they kind of hated each other for quite a long time, so I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, definitely, and it does sound very interesting from what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Ruari, personally, I think you would love the Next Generation because, I don't know, it seems a little bit more sort of action-packed in terms of, like, like the way the actual episodes are laid out. I'd say I recommend it to you in any way. I'd say you'd love Next Generation, but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a hard choice between the originals and Next Gen because I mean they're both so different. Yet you can tell it's the same universe. You can tell that that like the originality kind of followed it, but at the same time it's evolved into something new. A lot like with the new J.J. Abrams movies interpretations of it. I mean, you can still see the originality there, but it's quite obvious that it's evolved quite a lot.
Yeah. I have to confess, I was actually going to look up and try and watch the Star Trek The Next Generation episodes that Eric was in, and I just didn't have time, to be honest. I was planning to, but I vaguely
remembered that episode that he was talking about earlier on where he was like someone trying to find out what love is. I vaguely remember it, but I don't remember it all too well. It was decent, you know, it was good, but you know, there's still tons of other episodes that I can remember, and some of the movies I actually thought were pretty good too.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to, you know, these days I'm just not going to bother saying when you tell me I'd enjoy something, I can't say otherwise because I've gone into both Doctor Who and The Walking Dead.
Yeah, she's like, driving me with this stuff.
In my defense, I kind of said I had a reason to now that I started this podcast. I was like, right, I need to watch a bunch of things. I'll start with Doctor Who and Walking Dead. Ben keeps bugging me about them. Okay, yeah. Not buggy, but you know what I mean.
No, I think it's safe to say that I've been bugging you to watch them.
Have been
for quite a while now.
Yeah. Until
aren't you glad? Aren't you glad you started watching Doctor Who?
Yes,
That's my case.
Yeah. Only in the sense that when I go into
I rest my case.
Only because when I go into interviews with guests, I might have to pop questions off the top of my head, and I can actually reply to them if they ask me something.
You love it. You know.
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I do love them. Yeah. Definitely. So moving on to next discussion topic. Not sure if you've seen it, Graham. If you haven't, it's a big shock, as it'll be those of us. But they released the new trailer for the Batman Arkham Origins video game titled Nowhere to Run.
Yes.
I sound really stupid because you have seen it. It's the game you're most excited for this year.
Yeah, I am pumped. I actually went out earlier on today to GameStop over in the Stevens Green Centre up in town, I went to GameStop and I pre-ordered it then and there. And you know what? I was half tempted to get to pre-order the special edition, but I was just like, you know what? If I got the special edition, I probably wouldn't be seen for weeks. So you know what? I think I'm just gonna stick to the original. But referring to the trailer, I thought it was very interesting to see Firefly, because he was, I'm not going to say he's one of my favorite villains of all time in the Batman universe, but he's definitely up there. He is very cool, because, like, you know, you don't see a lot of pyromaniac sort of villains primarily. I mean, yeah, sure, Joker likes to blow stuff up, he likes to set stuff on fire, but, you know, it's very rare that you actually get a pyromaniac-themed villain, if that's safe to say that. Because, like, you get all these eccentric types, like in Spider-Man, for example, you have Shocker. He's, you know, he's like, he's freaking Shocker. But, like, you know, you don't get too many pyromaniacs, which I like to see. Like, and they're portraying him a little bit differently to how he was in the comic books. He seems to have a little bit more, like, I don't know, I always sort of imagined his voice a little bit crazier, like a little bit more lost, you know? But in this, they've given his voice a little bit of beef to it, like, you know, it's like, it's a little bit deeper than I expected it to be, but you know what, it works. It works very, very well, and I'm very impressed with it. And, my favorite part of the trailer was when, the interaction between Batman and James Gordon, Commissioner Jim Gordon, because, like, it just shows that this is how early on in Batman's career it is, because most fans of the comic book and the original games will know that, you know, him and Jim Gordon are buds, you know, and it just goes to show how early on in his career it is, because they're at each other's throats. Like, Jim was ready to shoot, more or less, like, and, like, it shows how their connections between each other are starting to build up a little bit more gradually, and it's amazing. I cannot wait for this game.
So I presume, considering you were saying if you got the special edition, you won't be saying for weeks, we won't see you for a week.
No, you won't see me for weeks. With the standard edition, I don't know, you might hear from me every now and then, and yeah, Ruari, I'm not going to lie to you.
Probably only for the podcast this week, just if we get a Batman Arkham Origins guest.
Yeah, Ruari, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm playing Arkham City right now. I'm sorry, but like while you were asking your questions, I was kind of just like I'm just there using the Nightwing DLC, just like bam, bam, pow, 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 pow.
I hope you at least said your microphone muted.
Actually, I don't think I did.
I couldn't hear anything, so.
Oh yeah, I'm using my old controller with the soft grips on it, so you know it's all good.
Well, I meant, you know, from the Xbox itself. But
oh no! I'm down the other end of my bed. It's all good. You can't hear a thing. I mean, I fixed it last week. I fixed the fan, so it's kind of running a little bit smoother now. But you know, yeah, I'm not joking. I'm actually playing it right now.
Yeah, so very exciting then for Batman fans, and you also have some other Batman news, kind of. If it's legit, because you can never be 100% sure, but apparently there is a concept of, well, first of all, Graham, actually before I say it, you have heard the news, haven't you?
Yeah, if you see my Facebook page, I actually have the fan thing, the fan trailer posted on my page for the Batman Superman or Superman Batman movie, whatever it's called at the moment, but
Man of Steel 2 officially.
Well, yeah, it is primarily going to be Man of Steel 2, but, like, I'm kind of just glad that Batman's going to be in it, nevertheless, Ben Affleck as Batman. Because, you know what, I'll put it to us this way. When Michael Keaton was given the role all those years ago, back in the 80s, I think it was, for the original, well, I'm not going to say the original, but for the Tim Burton Batman movies, people were like, what? Who the hell is this guy? You know, seriously? Michael Keaton was Batman? And then when he was in the role, people loved him. So I have high hopes for this guy.
Yeah, and you could, from what I've heard, you could also say the same for Heath Ledger.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know whether anyone here has heard of Nostalgia Critic, but when he was talking about the Dark Knight movies and whatnot before, he was just like, okay, when I originally heard about Heath Ledger becoming Joker, the instant thought that came to his head was that guy from Brokeback Mountain, or that guy from A Knight's Tale, you know.
So, like, you know, he was always into these more sort of, like, very, very different roles. And then when we saw him as the Joker, he was amazing. Probably one of the most original versions of the Joker that I've seen in quite a long time, apart from maybe John DiMaggio in Under the Red Hood. It was a little bit different, but nah. Still, I loved Heath Ledger in as the Joker in The Dark Knight. So I'm going in with high hopes for Affleck. Just gonna say, don't screw it up.
Yeah.
Don't screw it up.
Yeah. Getting back on topic, as I was saying, did you see the quote unquote possible concept art of Ben Affleck as Batman?
I actually have not. Have you got the link handy?
I might have somewhere. It's on the Facebook page.
I'll check it out later.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, it did look interesting. I know editor Dan Grievous wasn't impressed. I was just like, it doesn't look bad. Very awkwardly, because of course, you know, I'm not the hugest Batman fan, not like Graham, Dan, or the others. Spider-Man's more my thing, and I was just like, doesn't look bad. He was just like, it does look bad, and I'm just like, yeah, I better not argue this.
Yeah, don't argue it until I've seen it.
Well, just cause let's face it, a Batman argument, I'm not gonna win.
Yeah, well, I'll also put it this way. I know a lot of people who are complaining about the Christian Bale costume in Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. I thought it was fine. I mean, he's finally able to move his head for once, you know, so, you know, I'm okay with it.
Anyway, moving on before I completely lose myself trying to talk Batman. Before we actually move on, Graham, you have some Batman plans. Do you want to share them with our listeners?
Oh, yes.
Arkham Origins doesn't count.
No, yeah, I do. Is it the Lex Luthor thing?
I meant the comic thing that you're planning to attend.
Oh, DICE. Yeah. There is a small convention up in a little comic book shop near where I live called Big Bang. They have this little convention that they're putting together called DICE. And Scott Snyder, who wrote Batman Black Mirror and many other great Batman graphic novels and comic book series, is going to be attending, and hopefully when I go, I might be able to get a video interview with Mr. Snyder. So, you know, fingers crossed.
When is the convention?
I actually have the flyer here. It is on the... Yeah, here it is. It's on the September 28th and 29th of this month.
So, well, keep that in mind, definitely, and hopefully you can get a great video interview for us with Scott Snyder at the convention held by the Big Bang comic shop. So, yeah, it's very interesting. So, moving on to our next topic, and just checking again, but have you seen the new Walking Dead Season 4 poster?
No, I haven't. I haven't really been... I haven't been... I don't look at this stuff. I just wait for the... I just wait for the series to come out.
Yeah. All I'm going to say was, it was a... Well, actually, do you mind me talking in detail about it? I mean, I don't want to spoil it.
About a poster. Okay, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, there's only two real things to note. One, the first of all, I'm going to say it was a very, very cool poster. It definitely gave you a good feel for how, you know, darker this season will be. But I might as well just explain it. It was Rick Grimes, and the two things to observe were the gates of the prison were collapsing, pretty much. So that obviously, though it's already been mentioned in interviews by some of the crew, I believe, that they definitely won't be at the prison all season, so it really does give you a sign.
No.
Yeah, it really does give you. Yeah, so the prison will definitely be, but they'll only not be at the prison still at the end of the season anyway. And what was also interesting, and even I can say this for a fact, in the comics, of course, Rick Grimes suffers an injury to his hand, that's all I'm going to say, because I know there's more I could say about that, but he suffers an injury to his hand, and in the poster, we actually see a bandage on his hand, so that's a nod to the comic books right there. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Graham.
I do, and I'm afraid I'll go into too much detail on it and spoil it, so I'm gonna try and ignore that one just for now.
Yeah. It was a great poster, though, I'll tell you that much. It's also
it was a great scene in the comic books as well, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean, God.
Yeah, you'll probably have to go searching for that poster as well later.
I probably am now that you've told me what's on it, so yeah.
Yeah, so moving on to our next topic, how about a little Star Wars? We're going to be discussing a lot of it, so we'll start with this one. First of all, Star Wars The Knights of the Old Republic video game producer Casey Hudson will be returning to work on more Star Wars video games. So, you've played Knights of the Old Republic, haven't you?
Are you?
No.
Oh, God.
It's official.
Oh, sweet.
And this is the first Graham's heard about it. He's literally freaking out, I can tell.
Oh, my God. Seriously?
Yeah, but yeah, Casey Hudson is returning.
The Knights of the Old Republic is probably one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time. I mean, it was probably my favorite game on the Xbox original. I mean, oh my God. I mean, obviously next to Halo, because I'm kind of addicted to that. But still, it's a close second. I mean, oh my God, that game. Oh my God. Oh God. I'm fanboying.
Yeah, I can.
I'm fanboying. This is me fanboying.
Yeah, and now after this podcast is over, Graham will be spending like all morning playing Knights of the Old Republic.
Probably, yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm excited about it too. I'm very interested to see what kind of games Casey Hudson will be working on. I'm sure if they bring out some more Knights of the Old Republic games, that a lot of fans will be very happy, won't you say?
Yeah, and cough, cough. Gee, Ruari, it would sure be awesome to see a free roam Star Wars game. Cough, cough.
That would be good. Yeah, so yeah, anyway, moving on to the next topic and going away from Star Wars for just a little bit, back to Man of Steel 2. There is a rumor that Bryan Cranston will be cast as Lex Luthor for the film, and Graham, you probably know about this a bit more than me, so...
Yeah, man, Bryan Cranston. What can I say about Bryan Cranston? If any of you have watched Breaking Bad, which for the record is an awesome show, go watch it right now. He is an amazing actor. I think he can pull off the whole sinister tone to Luthor, but like, now, I know this is going to sound weird, but if any of you watch Malcolm in the Middle as well, he was the dad in that. And so you obviously know that he can get the whole charming side to it as well, because as you know, as most fans would know, Lex Luthor is a very two-faced individual in the comic books and the old animated series and whatnot. So you know that Bryan Cranston can pull off being charming, so he's, you know, nice and charming to the public, and then he goes really dark and sinister when he's about to, when stuff's about to go down, you know he's going to deliver. Or if you've seen Argo, he was also very, very good in that. I recommend you go see that movie, also starring Ben Affleck. But anyway, getting away from that, but it's he is an amazing actor. If he is playing as Lex Luthor, which I hope to God that he is, the role is in very, very capable hands, in my opinion, and I genuinely think that he can definitely pull it off. He can totally pull it off.
Yeah. And I can officially say I have something else to add to my list of things to watch. Thank you very much, Breaking Bad.
You're welcome.
I said Breaking Bad, not you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Oh, well, I'm pretty awesome to watch as well. Just, you know.
What?
Look at my ass, dude. Look at my ass.
I'd rather not. Yeah, moving on from a very awkward topic. Off topic, really, thing. Back to Star Wars, and with Episode VII casting rumors for the film coming out in 2015. First of all, Benedict Cumberbatch, and
Benny!
His name needs no introduction.
Will you get it anyway?
Benny?
Yeah. It's a long story of a very, very weird running joke that I have with my friend Ben. It's never mind, just move on.
Yeah, I don't really want to know.
Yeah, we don't.
So yeah, are you hoping Cumberbatch will be involved with Episode 7?
I hope he is. I mean, it would be very interesting to see, but I mean, for now, all I can say is that it's a very vague rumor. I mean, just because he happened to be in Star Trek Into Darkness doesn't mean that J.J. Abrams is going to recast him for Star Wars. So, like, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see him in Star Wars, don't get me wrong, but I mean, for the moment, in my view, it's a very vague rumor.
Just, I think everything is going to be a vague rumor until at least maybe, well, closer to the end of the year, like November, December, maybe even, the new year before we actually get anything official on new cast. But yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, I think it's safe to say he would be a really good actor. And the rumor actually was as well that he would be a Sith villain in it, and I think it's safe to say, I mean, I don't think I could imagine him as a Jedi.
I don't know if you've seen. Okay, I think he could pull off Jedi very, very easily. I think that's. I mean, I think it's just because you've seen him in like Into Darkness that you perceive him as a very dark character, but he can pull off the whole lighthearted thing if he wanted to. I mean, if you've seen some parts of Sherlock, he can be very playful and he can be very a very. I'm not going to say happy character, but he can be very Jedi-like if he wants to be. Or if you've ever seen Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, very, very good performance. I mean, he wasn't in it all that much, but it was a powerful enough performance to say that it wasn't dark. He wasn't playing a bad guy in it at all necessarily, depending on what your viewpoint is. But I disagree that you can't see him as a Jedi. I can definitely see him playing a Jedi. But I think he'd be awesome as a Sith, but I think he'd be equally as awesome as a Jedi. I mean, it depends on what way you look at him.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, we can. When I see some more of his roles rather than just Star Trek, then maybe I will have a different perspective. Because after all, right now I don't really have a lot to go off, do I?
Yeah, I'll show you Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy at some point, and I'll show you what parts he was in, and then you can make your own opinion from that, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, it was actually interesting because after that rumor went online, both first Benedict's agent / representative, I think, it was came out and said that it wasn't going to happen, and then Cumberbatch himself was asked at the premiere for one of his new movies or something and was asked about it, but the way Benedict worded it, like maybe sometimes going at straws, but I kind of knows it too. He said he hadn't signed anything, but that the implication was he had auditioned or had been offered or something like that, but without actually stating it. But what was definite was he hasn't actually signed on for anything. So the rumor itself is incorrect, but, it's still probable, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get you. I totally get
you. Yeah. And moving on from that one, a couple of other announcements, and actually something came up within the last day, maybe even today, which was very interesting, but I'll mention that there. But there were two new rumors. Both Alex Pettyfer and Rachel Hurd-Wood have apparently I think, or are rumored to be getting roles in Star Wars Episode VII. So do you have any comments on either of those two?
I don't really know what to say about that because I don't really know too much about them, if I'm being quite honest.
I've seen the Alex Rider movie Stormbreaker.
Yeah, ages ago. But
yeah, Alex Pettyfer is Alex Rider.
Really? Oh, I don't know. I mean, he's an okay actor. I mean, I haven't seen him in much else other than Alex Rider. He was okay in it.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know much about him either, except for that.
Yeah, I mean, I know he was in some movie recently. I think it was called I Am Number 4 or something like that.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that he was actually quite good in that, but I mean, all I can say is that I've heard he was good in it. I haven't seen him in it, so I can't really judge. Nor can I judge him too much on Alex Rider, seeing as it was primarily a kid's film and whatnot. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know really what to make of it at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I think every actor deserves a big break, so I'd like to see him in it at some point.
What I will say regarding Alex Pettyfer is that, in my personal opinion, you know, again, I've seen a lot of his roles, but for me, just from watching Alex Rider, I think a lot of the hate that has been directed towards Pettyfer from the rumour that, because there's been a lot of hatred, I'll tell you, a lot directed towards his acting and all that. Since rumour came out, I think it's very harsh. I mean, sure, I've only seen that. You
guys are just jealous because you weren't cast.
Well, I've been considered. But yeah, to be honest with you, when I first saw Pettyfer's Alex Rider in Stormbreaker, when I first watched it, I thought he looked the part. I thought,
yeah,
even before hearing him, that they picked the perfect cast based on looks, and he sounded the part too.
Yeah, like when I read the books, I read the first 2 books before I'd even heard there was a film of it coming out. I especially the second book, Point Blank, or however you want to pronounce it, but like that was definitely my favorite. And to be honest, I saw how I saw him in those books is how I saw him in the movie is how I saw him in the books, like that. You know, I mean, he looked the same, the messed up hair nearly kind of going over his eyes. He got that down, and he looked like him. He just genuinely looked like the part. So I don't see why there was so much hate about that. You know, I mean, it's not that big a deal.
No, I definitely agree. I was actually talking on one of the recent podcasts I do about the announcement, and basically one of the co-hosts pointed out that he had been in a few bad movies, but...
Yeah, but like, just because he was in a couple of bad movies doesn't mean that he's a terrible actor. I mean, Christopher Walken's picked some rubbish parts, I'm sure Marlon Brando's picked a couple of bum roles as well. Like, you know, you shouldn't judge an actor on his part. You should judge an actor on his performance.
I think it's safe to say that throughout their time, every actor or actress will pick a few bad parts.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. It's bound to happen at some point. You're gonna pick a really, really crappy part at some point in your life if you're an actor, and like. Even then, sometimes the parts aren't even picked by the actors, it's picked by the agencies. One for you, one for the agency is usually the rule, or one for the agency, then one for you. So, I mean, it's, most times, it's not even the actor's fault, it's the agency's fault for putting him or her into a really, really bad movie. So, like, I don't think that people should give actors in general too much hate, because most of the time it's the agency. So, I'm quite fair in that regard towards actors, but then there's some things that I look at and think, good God. But still, it's not that big a deal at all.
Yeah. To be honest, I personally think Alex Pettyfer would be really good in Star Wars. To be honest, it could be his big because
no one really knows the tone of what films they're good at until they've actually done a few. So who knows? He might be actually very, very well set for a performance in Star Wars, because I don't know, he's got the whole lighthearted thing down. When he was in Alex Rider, that film was fairly lighthearted, and for the most part, so was Star Wars. Kind of, I guess. I mean, well,
it's family friendly. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, he can get the whole charming thing down if he wanted to, but I see a lot of, I can see some potential in him for the most part. I mean, I can see a lot of potential in him to do something darker and all that, so I think he wouldn't be that bad for Star Wars, so, haters, stop hating.
Yeah, I think, personally, something that surprised me, because when I go onto every actor/actress's IMDb before we interview, the Internet Movie Database profile for them, when I look at Alex Pettyfer's one, I'm always surprised that, because they always have their 4 most well-known roles, so-called 4 most well-known roles at the top in a special section, and I'm always surprised when I look at Alex Pettyfer's and that Stormbreaker's none of them. Yeah, there's I Am Number 4, the one you mentioned, there's Magic Mike. In fact, in all the rumor articles, every article seems to be pointing out that Magic Mike is his most well-known role, or something like that. I haven't even heard of that.
A successful movie. I haven't seen it because it's not my thing. I don't like to see male strippers and Channing Tatum stripping down, so, I'm not interested I wasn't initially interested in the movie.
And my guess is, from what I've heard about, that's probably one of the roles movies people consider bad, I'd say, and, kind of judge him off that.
I don't know. I mean, from what I've heard, the film was very successful. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but it was successful, so...
Who knows?
I mean, I'll put it this way, when Batman and Robin first came out in theaters, people were just like, oh, hey, George Clooney, he's a very well-known actor, and he's playing Bruce Wayne. And Batman, that could be very good. Then, I mean, everyone went and lined up to see the movie, came out thoroughly disappointed. So, like, at the end of the day, just because a movie's successful doesn't mean it's good, but, still. You can see my point, right?
Yeah. And moving on to the other rumors, there's Rachel Hurd-Wood, who is best known from Peter Pan. I personally haven't seen anything she's been in. I think you might be the same. What?
I've seen Peter Pan.
Okay.
But
I thought you actually said earlier you hadn't heard of her, so I was guessing off that.
Well, I haven't heard of her, but I've seen Peter Pan.
Okay. That's me told. Yeah. But what I will say from looking at pictures of her, I think she definitely fit into Star Wars, definitely as a, solo child, Han Solo child or Leia. What?
Pun intended. Never mind.
No. Yeah, I know. So yeah, I think she definitely would fit into Star Wars really well. And actually, before we move on to your rumors, that thing I said I'd get back to that I wanted to point out. What's interesting was there's actually a website, Star Wars website set up by people in Lucasfilm just to get fans' reactions to something. It's really meant to be a confidential one, and unfortunately, someone actually leaked this report. So, guessing Lucasfilm won't be too happy if they find this person. But someone actually leaked that on that specific website. They actually posted a question type thing whether fans would be happy to see Alex Pettyfer and Rachel Hurd-Wood cast. Now, this is apparently Lucasfilm themselves actually asking if fans would be happy to see them in it. And maybe they're trying to avoid the Ben Affleck backlash, but it's very interesting because that kind of tells you maybe they are actually going to be cast, Alex and Rachel.
Could be. I mean, I don't know. I'd certainly be happy to see them, get a break, get their big break and all. But
I mean, that's the thing because Star Wars has usually not been about then big name actors and turning them into big names. It's safe to say Alex isn't a big name. Rachel I hadn't heard of, so immediately she's probably not a big name for me. It all depends kind of what you've watched, what you haven't watched, so... Yeah, I know what you mean, but, I think the overall view among the community and a lot of others is that they don't really know these, or the other worst side is people hate Alex Pettyfer. Maybe. But, I mean, it's sort of like in Doctor Who, whenever they pick the next Doctor and whatever, it's always a very, very not so well-known actor. I mean... Christopher Eccleston, yeah, he was kind of well-known, but he wasn't really out there. David Tennant was he was well-known among the theatre groups, but, he wasn't particularly... Well, yeah, he had just been in Harry Potter, but that was around the same time, so, not... Give a year or two, and he might have been more well-known for the Harry Potter, but he came into Doctor Who, wasn't it, around the same time, so... Yeah, I think he came into Doctor Who first. I think he did season 2 first before he actually did the 4th Harry Potter movie. But Matt Smith, I admittedly never even heard of before he was announced, and I still don't know who the 12th is because I'm saving myself for when he actually regenerates. So I'm living basically in a cardboard box until December 25th when the Christmas special comes. Box, see, yeah. That was horrible. That was horrible. It's so horrible that I loved it. Yeah, I'm not to say Doctor is, yeah.
I still don't know who he is. I've been living in a cardboard box.
No, I'm just saying I'm not allowed to say.
No, because I've actually, I don't know whether most of you guys know this, but I have actually left a death threat on Skype to anyone who tells me. So, to quote Liam Neeson, I will find you, and I will kill you.
Run fast, run far. There you go.
Run fast, run far, don't look back.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, I doubt I'm even like to give a little hint, so yeah, I'll move on. More so, what?
You probably should.
Okay, no, that's actually a bit too much hint. It's okay. I will give. Are you saying I'm allowed to give you a hint?
No.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna be a big one anyway.
I will Reservoir Dogs you. Any major movie fan will know what I mean. I'll give you a little hint as to what I do. Ear, razor, stuck in the middle with you.
You're gonna cut my hair? Really?
No. Look up Reservoir Dogs ear scene.
Yeah, I know. I was messing anyway. Well, cut hair, indeed, you know. So anyway, some more casting rumors. Apparently, Liam McIntyre from Spartacus has auditioned for a role. This was apparently told by Liam to a fan at a recent convention. I think it was Dragon Con in America. So that's pretty interesting. Of course, it's just that he just auditioned. I mean, he obviously hasn't actually gotten a role.
He's actually not a bad actor. Surprisingly. I mean, like, I don't think Star Wars would suit him too much, but I don't think he's a bad actor per se. Like, he's okay.
Yeah, what I actually do want to point out, though, is that thinking about it and looking at pictures on both Liam McIntyre and Alex Pettyfer, as how Alex looks now, they both look very similar. So I won't be at all surprised if they actually auditioned for the same part.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. I mean, it's kind of just a 50-50 situation then, flip the coin.
Yeah. And the last one is that Ksenia Solo, yes, Solo as is her surname, is being considered another one like Rachel Hurd-Wood, an actress I haven't actually heard of, but again, looking at pictures, I think she would definitely be good for a role in Star Wars. Have you heard of her?
I haven't a clue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, moving on from episode 7 casting rumors, there is some Star Wars The Clone Wars bonus content rumors, and that's that the episodes will be released on Apple TV, possibly.
Apple TV?
What?
What's Apple TV?
Well, something really, really bad.
Okay, should I be left in the dark on that too?
Well, let's just say when this rumor came out, well, it wasn't as bad as the Ben Affleck reaction, but it was close. That's all I'll say.
Oh, God.
Like, basically, I'm not sure if it's new or recently released or whatever. Like, basically, Apple TV, not a lot of people have, most people would have cable, something like that, probably. Let's just say if this rumor comes true, Apple or Disney or whatever are basically trying to get you to buy a whole new TV just to watch the bonus content.
No, just get it online.
Well, that's the thing. They're saying it might be exclusive to Apple TV.
No, but like, I'm sure there's someone out there who has a capture card and is going to actually, upload it onto something like Solar Movie or Watch Series. I'll just watch it there. I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, I mean, if the rumor does come true, I certainly won't be getting it on Apple TV because I'm not buying a whole new TV. Just watch some new episodes, even if it is for my favorite TV shows.
I mean, I don't really watch all that much TV in general. I mean, Ruar, you know me. Like, my TV in my room isn't even connected to the freaking satellite. I just use it for my Xbox. So, it's just I don't watch a lot of TV. So why would I buy Apple TV just to watch one thing?
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of points I will make, one for it and one against the bonus content rumor for Apple TV, I mean. The one, which one should I go with first, actually? The one against the rumor is that while they said they're, working on getting the bonus content to us, and that it would actually is kind of leads in my one. They said it would be an out-of-box method. Well, that's not quite right, but no, it won't be the typical way to release it. I believe they've said that, but at the same time, I don't think they'd really be so silly as release on Apple TV, just because, even from just this rumor coming out, the amount of backlash from fans. So I don't think they'd really be that stupid to release on Apple TV. Again, they did say it would be an out-of-box method, or something like that. Not sure it really means DVD box. Just be an unusual or unexpected method for them to be released. And even if it does get released to Apple TV, I'm sure it'll come get somewhere else down the line. It might just be exclusive to Apple TV for a while, and you actually would have to have the TV to get it. I don't know. But it's complicated. I just want something official on this.
I don't know. See, I don't know too much about Apple TV, so I can't really say much in that regard. But hey, I'm just going to be a sheep and say, oh yeah, Apple TV's bad.
Yeah. One thing I will say regarding Apple is when I was doing work experience at a computer place called Micro Pro Computers, I had literally they didn't really have much for me to do. So for like 2 hours one day, I had to test out one of their new Apple laptops for 2 hours. Absolutely hated it. The navigation for one was absolutely awful. I just didn't really like it for a computer. I much prefer the computers I have at home, either my own laptop or my mum's, which I used to. Yeah, that's the fun. Honestly, I would sooner have Windows 8 than that Apple laptop. Not saying a lot. Yeah, it was really bad. I'm kid you not. Yeah, and considering how much I hate my Windows 8 laptop.
The last couple of times I've been over at your house, you've been just raging over Windows 8. I can see the look on your face whenever you're using it, just like, oh, god damn it.
Well, not so much the internet itself. The Skype is what's really bad.
Yeah, and that whole menu thing when you swipe your when you swipe your finger across the mouse pad and it changes window, and you're just like, oh, that annoys me so much.
Yeah. So moving on, the last Star Wars topic for the day, I think this is actually very interesting. We've been interchanging between Star Wars topics and other topics. Interesting. I didn't actually notice when I wrote the notes. It wasn't intended. There's been a recent casting call going out in New York for 3 main roles for Star Wars Episode VII. The first is a young man in his early 20s, handsome but not necessarily heroic. He is witty and smart, physically fit. Another man, late 20s, physically fit, handsome and confident. And a young woman, late teens, physically fit, raw energy, independent, and with a great sense of humor. Do you know anyone who would fit any of those descriptions?
Not really, no. No. I'm beat. Sorry.
For the first one, I almost want to say me, but of course I'm not in my early 20s.
Shh. What do you mean? Maybe turned 20 there, just, yesterday.
What? I'm still 7. No.
No, you're not. No, dude, what the hell? You're 20.
Is that because I have a beard?
Shh.
Really?
Hey, Lucasfilm, I know this guy who's totally 20 years old and is able to do it.
So he's able to do Rory. That's very helpful.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say anything.
No comment. But for the last one, I always want to say Ivana Lynch, but she's not late teens. She is early 20s.
I don't know. She's an okay actress. I wasn't a big fan of Luna Lovegood in general. That's all I really know her as. So.
Yep. You have to admit she fit the part, though.
Oh, no, yeah, no, she definitely fit the part and whatnot, and, like, you know, look after your own and all that sort of stuff, but, like, I don't know, I don't see too much special about her, to be honest. Like, she did what she had to do, and she did it well, but, you know, I don't know what the fuss is about, to be honest.
Yeah, and I just think it would be really interesting, though, you know, considering everything else we watch, when we go into episode 7, even Rebels, with the new voice cast, if they cast anyone that we know from something else in it, I mean, that would be very interesting. It would be a bit, you know, weird at the same time.
Steve Bloom, John DiMaggio. Sorry, I have a terrible...
Well, we already heard John DiMaggio in the Clone Wars micro series. That wouldn't be as surprising, to be honest, but I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
John
DiMaggio is probably one of my favorites. Or Bruce Greenwood, he's turning into one of my favorites now, anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on, back to our, of course, weekly segment, Name That Franchise, which
Name That Franchise!
We really didn't need that.
Yeah, we so did.
No, we didn't. But yeah, so Name That Franchise, of course. I will name a quote from a franchise, and if you can tell me what quote the franchise is from, then you got it. And if you can name the character who said it, or even what movie, TV show, video game, comic, etc. If you can tell me all those details, you get bonus marks. But if you get just the franchise itself, then you've done well. Anyway, well, you've got right anyways. So this week's Name That Franchise is: any attack made by the rebels against this station will be a useless gesture, no matter what technical data they have obtained. This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it. And of course, a geekly trivia question as well, which is similar, but of course it's trivia. It's not just quote related. It could be absolutely anything. So here is this week's geekly trivia question. So, which Battlestar Galactica actress had a voice role in the Spectacular Spider-Man, and which character did she voice? So, you have to get both this time. You have to get the actress and the character. So, anyway,
trivia question.
What? Why would you say that at the end?
Because you didn't give me time at the start.
I don't know you'd say that. So, yeah, are you ready to wrap up?
Yeah, sure. I like a pack of Doritos and like a.
No, not that kind of wrap up. Not that kind, no.
Oh.
Anyway, make sure to check out our YouTube channels. The podcast is www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/separatistdestroyers. Graham's is www.youtube.com/user/Graham009. And check out Eric's website, www.ericpierpoint.net. And check out Channel 113 on Facebook, where he broadcasts from www.facebook.com/channel1138. So geeks out, everyone.
Geek out!